is in his wife's surprise adoption of an 8-week-old beagle to ease John's transition after her passing. The actor portraying the dog, by the way, is named Andy, who did attend the premiere. His parents are hunting dogs, and he's from upstate New York. And training puppies for film is hard work, and it took some hard work to get Andy ready for the screen. But they did. Which is when we meet Game of Thrones' Alfie Allen, younger brother of the wonderful Lily Allen, as the son of Viggo Tarasov, Yosef. A skin-melting penis face of toxic masculinity with debilitating daddy issues. John contemplates ending his life, but chooses against it to go spend time with his dog, Daisy. This, of course, goes awry when Yosef and his Russian goons break into John's house, beat the ever-loving snot out of Mr. Wick, steal his car, and kill his dog. And for whatever it's worth, the actor who kills the dog in the film, Omer Barnea, wouldn't talk to anyone between takes, choosing instead to hang with the puppy and cuddle him, which is understandable because of all the things in the film that get your blood boiling, nothing even comes close to the death of Daisy, which brings us to catharsis. The film could have fridged the wife's character and pulled John back into the crime world that way, but instead chose to have her death be a natural fact of life. The catharsis is our own, needing John to go back into the world and kill every last one of these bastards. It's worth remembering that he was in the hospital for weeks, even months before her passing, which happens just a couple of days before the events of this film. Her death is real, palpable, and something John actively has to shut off for most of the events of the film. And I love the edit here. Just as we think the film will take a moment to mourn with us, nope! Smash cut to him putting a little box in the ground because we are not allowed that. We see him scrubbing the blood from the floor because shit is about to go down. From this point out, nothing else matters. John has to kill every single one of the people responsible for this iniquitous act of violence, and he must dispose of them with an efficiency of moral supremacy. He becomes the good guy, even though for his entire life he was the bad guy, because the literal anti-hero now has a single preeminent purpose: avenge Daisy. A loss of innocent life so heinous, our protagonist has to break the almost assured promise he made to his wife: I'm out of that life for good, and go back in for one final stunning hurrah. But first he has to take the bus because they stole his car and put a bat through his wife's ride, so they're not making a great case here. What's interesting is how similar this setup for vengeance-laden violence it is to Road to Perdition, a mob boss's idiot man-child progeny, in an effort to prove how big of a badass toilet lord he is, commits a woefully deplorable act of violence against the bare threat of humanity, holding our protagonist back from burning the whole thing down. The mob boss then has no alternative but to choose the side of his own blood over his top assassin, even though he believes that choice will topple his entire empire, and does. Where they differ is that this film starts going in an entirely different direction by punching the pedal to the floor and going from zero to world-building powerhouse in like 7 seconds. It takes a simple premise,
you killed dog wife gave me, you all die now,
and turns it into,
well, your son killed my dog and then you tried to kill me. I guess you're all culpable, so my only choice is to burn the entire thing down.
It's a subtle distinction. John Leguizamo is awesome in this movie as an awesome bit of stunt casting, which is prevalent throughout the film. You have Lance Riddick as the hotel manager, Michael Nyqvist as the big bad Viggo, whom you may remember from the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo Swedish film adaptations, the aforementioned Adrienne Palicki as John's assassin foil Miss Perkins, and bearded Western slime lord Ian McShane as Winston, the owner of the Continental Hotel, responsible for keeping it a violence-free zone for all of its guests. Instead of telling us the simple story of a wronged man dismantling a mobster's organization, it gives us a glimpse of a much larger world that complicates our hero's task exponentially. John Wick cannot simply commit an act of revenge because the person he needs to kill is protected by powers, figures, and rules that he cannot break without rendering his task impossible. I think what's interesting about this is what the writer Derek Kolstad had to say about it. He describes Viggo and John as the gods of New York, whereas Winston is the Titan, himself the de facto leader of his own army of other Titans. The gods battle on Olympus, and oh my other god, it is absolutely breathtaking to behold the balletic savagery of what transpires. No mortals are aware that the gods are at war, people have names and roles within Olympus, as they are cast with actors that bring their other roles in as backstory to inform their current one. Apollo, god of guidance and light; Zeus, god of Olympus and keeper of law, order, and peace; Ares, the god of war; Artemis, goddess of the hunt; Hephaestus, god of blacksmithing and cleaning up a crime scene; Deimos, son of Ares and terrified of war; Hades, who is just Willem Dafoe. I mean, even the god version of John Wick is awakened with a hammer crushing through the bedrock to retrieve the life he buried. Subtle this is not. That's what I meant by the boogeyman destroys Mount Olympus, because in a lot of ways, that's what it is. And I think when you check out this movie through that lens, layers of depth that might not have been apparent at face value become way more apparent. And I don't mean to say that those mythical connections track one-to-one with the mythical stories or even those characters. I just spent a few minutes connecting them up because I thought it was fascinating how well this does track as a lip service remixing of Greek mythology. It's mythology by association. We slide into the seedy underbelly of the world that mortals are just not aware of. It's lavish, hedonistic, and wholly disconnected from the world we, as mortals, know. I mean, the Russian club is like this on a Tuesday night. The interesting mythological distinction, as I mentioned before, is that John Wick spends the entire film being called the Boogeyman, which has no ties to classic mythology. The Boogeyman, or Bogeyman, as it was derived from the Middle English, is believed itself to be derived from the German nailed it. Which is all neither here nor there, because the Boogeyman is just a fabled monster used to stop kids from lying about brushing their teeth before they go to bed. And conveniently, our unlovable doofus Yosef does not believe in the Boogeyman, but he really should, because it's going down for it. What I adore about this film is how many scenes we are served a relentless buffet of gun fu executed at a level that is heretofore unrivaled by anything that has ever been put on screen. The months and months of preparation that Keanu and the crew have done is entirely worthwhile, because in a mythical movie proclaiming the terror of a demonic boogeyman that comes out of the shadows seemingly out of nowhere to inflict his righteous fury actually holds water, because we followed that jujitsu-possessed demon as he moves in and out of the shadows and dispenses henchmen like he's Marty McFly playing Wild Gunman. Yes, that is Elijah Wood. Also, John Wick lands on his gun when he falls off the balcony, and it's one of the things that the movie chooses to show you over and over again. Being the boogeyman is painful, methodical, and arduous. As an interesting side note, the bourbon that John drinks after he goes ham on the Russian nightclub is Blanton's original single barrel, which is only a $71 bottle of bourbon, sort of endearing us to his every manliness. The film takes every opportunity to ground and endear him to the audience, because when he's in boogeyman mode, he's a methodical robot assassin with no emotions or weaknesses. We need to constantly be reminded of his humanity through the use of dark comedy during downtime.
How good's your laundry? I'm sorry to say that no one's that good.
Or the distance between audience and protagonist would widen with each show of aggression. You know, when he's not shooting corrupt priests in the leg for running the Russian mob's money laundering operations. But even John Wick won't kill a man with a claw. As John's world continues to unravel as other assassins accept contracts on his head, we see the seemingly ironic civility of the assassin's world begin to unravel as well. John chooses not to kill Miss Perkins when she tried to kill him, which in turn gets his friend killed on, for lack of a better term, Olympus's grounds. The threads unravel enough that he's captured by Russians, but Vigo, stupidly through his magnificent hubris, does not just kill him. He monologues, he chomps through the scenery like Nicolas Cage in a high school production of The Crucible, and the demon comes out. He maybe puts too fine a point on it, but when John calls Daisy an opportunity to grieve that his wife gave him, and that Yosef killed that from me! And since his Defoe-held demon friend had a change of heart, leading to some very literal Deus Ex Machina, as all help from his compatriots in the film is the help of gods, we're off to the races again. Through a shaky truce between Vigo and John pulling the contracts off his head, he is given the location of Yosef, and he accomplishes what he's been trying to do the entire film: kill Dios. And he does it with the same ruthless efficiency he's dispensed of everyone else in the picture. He doesn't have a one-liner, but a looming boogeyman forever moving forward. I mean, it's just goodbye, and that should be it. But the god's hubris cannot be contained. Vigo and Miss Perkins kill Marcus, and the world flips again. The war, though well fought, is not over, though Miss Perkins gets hers from Zeus himself, revoking her pass to the International and also getting shot in the head a lot. The gods are now on John Wick's side as Zeus himself steps in to end the entire thing. He sends the boogeyman right at Vigo, bringing us to where the film started. Also, points for bringing in all the lightning for the last gun battle, showing us what side of the conflict Zeus is now on. Also, you know, Rainy Showdown on a Cliff is a pretty classic staple of action cinema, so the movie really had to go there. Two gods battling on the modern equivalent of a mountaintop in the rain.
Do I civilize you?
John asks in the rain, reminding us of the civility that Vigo had taken away from John at every conceivable point he could have made a different decision in the film. We even get that "see you in hell" shorthand when Vigo breathes his last breath, saying,
We see you, John.
implying that they'll meet again in hell with Hades. Hey, and with the final battle done, he has one final task: to find another dog so that he can go off and begin his grieving process. And I think that's what is ultimately so remarkable about John Wick as a film, because it is a story about grieving when you don't have the time or the ability to do so. As I said at the beginning, John Wick is a vehicle for our catharsis in whatever shape we need that to take. John needs to grieve over his loss, but he is simply unable because the tool to deal with that grief was inexplicably turned into further and deeper grief for no other reason than somebody thought it would be fun. Sound familiar? But that type of fun, insofar that it is at the expense of others, has wholly unintended consequences and far-reaching effects. Let me state that another way. Two men inherit the actions of another, leading to the destruction of paradise right before their eyes. Original sin, as it were. I would be remiss if I didn't share that I have used this film for my own catharsis, though the uses for it as such comes with questionable reasoning. I will admit it's probably not healthy after you have a bad day to watch someone have a much worse day, but again, isn't that the nature of liberation? Do we not accomplish our freedom from grief through means that we didn't dare share with even those closest to us? John got angry and cleaned up the mess that someone else made, in a very literal sense, no matter how much it hurts him to do so. But he's still attempting to begin the grieving process at this point. It's only when the mob comes down upon him that they awaken the sleeping dragon that will topple the entire empire and burn it to the ground, which is bad ass, sure, but I want to push that this movie goes far deeper than a pure, simple deconstruction of modern American action cinema. It destroys it. John is a relic of a different age, which is all the more beautiful a gesture by using 52-year-old Keanu Reeves, yes, 52, standing in as an avatar for films like The Matrix, which he obviously was a star of, where America's obsession with the gun ballet really began. In The Matrix and all of its many imitators, we are shown slickness and beauty in our gunplay, mimicking those of Eastern cinema, especially films of Chinese cinema like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Drunken Master, or Black Mask, which, including The Matrix, were all films whose fight choreography was done by legendary fight choreographer Yuen Woo-Kim. This is the anti-Matrix. Instead of a beautiful ballet of people flying through the air, wistfully dodging gunfire on wires like sugar plum fairies dancing across the lily pads on the surface of a pond, all of the action in John Wick is simply a means to an end. It is a non-emotional optimization of target priorities. Sometimes he wounds someone, holds them off for a moment to kill someone else before turning back to finish them off. We see this from start to finish in the film, though it is astonishing to watch in practice. The reality is the violence is not glorified. If anything, you are forced to confront the brutality of John's methods. And I think this is what makes John Wick's catharsis so palpable to an audience. We've all been there. When someone wrongs you for no other reason than to do it, and when faced with a way out, the guilty party somehow doubles down by virtue of their own hubris. Sometimes the only option is to look the other party in the eye with a sigh and say, "You did this to you." At which point, thank you for checking out another episode. This one was a lot of fun to do. John Wick is just a really cool film, and I'm glad I got to tackle it on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. That was a lot of work, which is probably more apparent on this one than other ones, because I said 3,400 words about a film where Keanu Reeves just murders everyone. But it meant something to me, and hopefully it means something to you. I don't have a lot of energy right now because it's really late at night when I'm recording this. So follow me on Twitter, like, subscribe, do all that stuff to help me out. That would be very big. If you could do that, let's just get to the voting so I can go to bed and get this up. Start with another Jones. Curveball. Caro. I want to say that this is one of my favorite films, and I know that putting it up against Spike Jonze and the third one, which I do want to do this one eventually, I might just turn off voting when I do it, because I'm sure no one has ever even heard of it, but whatever. And the third option,
really something that should be accepted. So let's watch a slam poem, which is pretty much a gigantic excuse for being overweight.
The old joke goes, patient walks into the doctor's office, says, "Doctor, it hurts when I move my arm like this. What should I do?" And the doctor says, "So don't move your arm like that." Now, fat girl walks into doctor's office, says, "Doctor, it hurts when I move my arm like this. What should I do?" And the doctor says, "Have you considered weight loss surgery?"
If you are suffering from joint pain, I think it's very reasonable for your doctor to attribute it to the fact that you are the size of a Ford Fiesta.
Fat girl walks into the doctor for a flu shot and gets a lecture about BMI.
The reason that he said that is because you went to the doctors for a flu shot, which means you're obviously concerned about your body's immunity, and your BMI actually affects your immunity, especially if you're a woman.
Fat girl walks into the doctor's with an earache and gets asked if she's ever eaten a salad.
Either that never happened or your doctor finally got pissed off at you ignoring his advice.
Fat girl walks into the doctor's office with a spider bite, and the doctor obsesses over how low her blood pressure is. Low for such a fat person anyway. Insists on checking it 3 times before he'll believe it. Forgets completely about the mass of purple spider venom that brought her here to begin with.
So your doctor noticed that your blood pressure was very, very low. He found that very strange. So strange that he wanted to check 3 times just to be absolutely sure. So you're annoyed that your doctor was being thorough. You should be grateful. You would never get that in the NHS.
Fat girl walks into the doctor's to ask about antidepressants and gets prescribed exercise instead.
That's because exercising helps depression. Getting up and actually being active literally helps depression, you fucking dunce.
Because obviously her depression is because of her fat, and obviously fat bodies never exercise and stay fat.
Well, poor self-image leads to poor self-confidence, which is a massive contributor to depression. Even if you do find it hard to lose weight, exercising regularly releases endorphins, which can overall improve your mood, help you sleep better at night, and give you a feeling of accomplishment. All of which help depression. Fucking exercise.
Fat girl walks into the doctor's office for a standard 3-month follow-up appointment, and the doctor says, "Have you considered that weight loss surgery yet?"
He is doing his fucking job. His job is to keep you healthy, but also help you keep yourself healthy. Being obese is unhealthy. So of course he brings it up with you every time you visit. Every time I go to my doctor, she brings up how much I smoke. Every single time that I go, and I do actually plan on quitting once the trial's finished with. But the reason she brings it up every time I go is because it's her job to look out for my health, and smoking is unhealthy. So whenever she tells me every time I go, she's not doing it to be an arsehole. She's not being mean. She's doing her fucking job.
Fat girl gets tired of constantly being diagnosed as fat.
Then don't be fat.
So fat girl stops walking into the doctor's office.
Imagine being so annoyed at being told to correct a serious health problem about yourself that you just stop going to the doctors altogether, putting your health even more at risk. Fuck's sake.
Fat girl walks into the world and says, "World, it hurts to exist like this." And the world says, "So stop existing like that."
You could always gain a little bit more weight and become the world.
Fat girl walks through a world that would rather she slice herself open than to exist as she does. Side effects be damned.
I'm very sorry that we don't want you to die young.
Fat girl walks through a world overrun with sidewalk doctors who claim to be concerned about her health. Side effects be damned.
Because they are concerned. What do any of these people have to gain from you losing weight? How does you losing weight benefit them in any way? It's not for them, it's for you.
Fat girl walks into the world and still somehow manages to love her fat body. And the world says, stop glorifying obesity.
Yes, because we don't want children thinking that being obese is healthy. Being obese is unhealthy. It is a state of being that should not be encouraged. We should be encouraging people to be healthy. Fucking shut up.
Fat girl walks into the world and says...
In this poem, the mentioned fat girl seems to do a lot of walking. Something doesn't add up.
I do not owe you shrinking, you know. I do not owe you thinness, attempted thinness or desired thinness.
Correct. You don't owe any of us a damn thing. You owe it to yourself.
Because you assume thinness equals health. Because you assume thinness equals health. For that matter, I do not owe you health, perceived or otherwise, to receive basic respect.
Okay then, we can respect your choice to be fat and unhealthy. But it means that later in life, when you're wasting away from diabetes or heart disease or many of the other health problems that come with being overweight, it means that you don't really get to complain. After all, it was your choice.
I am deserving of care.
You are, but I just think it's a bit counterproductive that whenever your doctor tries to care for you, you reject him.
I am deserving to exist as I do.
Okay, right, you can exist. Right, no one's calling for a fat genocide. No one's going to start herding you all onto cattle trains and shipping you off to fat camp.
I am deserving of first, no harm done.
No one is bringing any harm to you. You're the one that's bringing harm to you.
And the world says that is the best joke we've heard all day.
If you want to live your life in that way, that's fine. If you want to live your life as obese, then that's fine. Again, all of that is completely your choice. But what I'm not okay with is you trying to tell people that being fat is okay. It's not, it's unhealthy, and it's not something that should be encouraged. What I'm also not okay with is you getting angry at your doctor for doing his job. It is his job to look out for your health. So don't get mad at him when he addresses the elephant in the room.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.
Everyone remembers the shit show that happened after a particular joke that I made where the vast majority of mainstream comedians were actually celebrating what happened to me and saying that I deserved it. Most of the comedians who came out against me were far-left virtue signallers who do make up the majority of mainstream comics. What they didn't realise is that by supporting such consequences for comedy means that they were just opening themselves up to be subject to the same consequences themselves. They basically placed their careers at risk just for the sake of virtue signalling. I've been saying for a very long time that these things that the far left are pushing for would one day be used against them, because if there's one thing that the far left is well known for, it's eating their own. And it looks like they got hungry. We can start with something basic to sort of give an idea of the outrage culture that I'm talking about. Like comedian Freddie Quinn, he gave a performance at the Hot Water Comedy Club in Liverpool where he says that rape is completely justifiable if a woman hasn't put out by the fourth date. In the anecdote that he created for his routine, he says that ultimately his date turned out to be transgender, and he suggested that we make all transgender people wear badges. Far-left screecher Rob Harkavy wrote an article for Out News basically comparing Freddie's badge comment to when the Nazis made LGBT people wear purple triangles in the concentration camps. Rob states in the article that Freddie's entire comedy routine is hate-filled and offensive. But then he goes on to say this about Freddie. So far, so side-splitting. Yes, folks, in the crazy, madcap world of the portly, bearded, balding Quinn, rape is funny. You're complaining about a comedian's routine being hate-filled and discriminatory, but then you go on to make fun of him for his appearance, and then you even throw a nice little dash of fat shaming in there as well. Imagine contradicting yourself this hard only 3 paragraphs into your article. It's okay when we do it. Rob then goes on to attack the comedy club for the comment that they gave over the routine. In a not unexpected cop-out, a spokesperson for the Hot Water Comedy Club told Outnews Global, "We do not censor. All content is owned by the comedian himself rather than by us. We are just a platform." Rob already tried to mislead you with the title "Comedy Club stands by when is rape justified comic." Supporting someone's right to say things is not the same as supporting the things that they say. And I'm actually at the point where I'm smashing my face off a wall, trying my hardest to get you people to fucking understand that. The club's response isn't a cop-out, Rob. That literally is fact. Platforms are not responsible for what is said on their platforms. The only way to actually fix this problem that you're screeching about is for platforms to control what can and can't be said on their platforms, and also for them to refuse access to people who say things that they don't like. Literal control of speech. And with the way things are going right now, in order for a platform to actually be successful and actually be well respected, it has to have a respect for freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Cough, cough. The article gets even funnier when Rob gets a quote from trans activist Jake Graff, and he actually genuinely said this. Not only is the comedian in question advocating for rape, he then begins a torrent of transphobic slurs which are surely tantamount to hate crime. Advocating for rape. The man is a comedian in a comedy club with a microphone in his hand, on a stage, telling jokes. That's all they are. Jokes. It's fascinating how in all of the psychological research and data that we actually have on what actually inspires rapists to rape, jokes aren't mentioned once. Not once in all of the research. I don't ever think there's been a recorded incident ever of a person leaving a comedy club after having heard a rape joke and then raping someone because of the joke that they heard in the comedy club. I'm pretty sure that that's never ever happened. But if anyone does come across a recorded case where someone was actually raped because the rapist heard a joke, then get back to me. But until then, you're full of shit, Jake. And then there was the usual calls for censorship and deplatforming coming from both Jake and Rob. Jake said, "At a time when the trans community is under such sustained and vitriolic attack, events like this must be called out and stopped." Rob himself also called for censorship in regards to Freddie's routine in the closing paragraph, but he did try and precursor it with a famous phrase that censorial, anti-free speech arseholes all love to use. Outnews Global believes in free speech. Now, what word do you think followed that sentence? Can you guess? I'll give you a wee second so you can guess.
Praise your bits now! Come on! Quick! Bits! Betting end!
But freedom of speech is not absolute. Hate speech and incitement to violence, including rape, are illegal. We have no doubt that opinions like Quinn's, even when wearing a comedic mantle, contribute to an atmosphere where both cis and trans women feel unsafe when simply going about their day-to-day lives. Any comedy club with a modicum of decency should not book this man. I have an even better idea, Rob. I have an even better idea. How about all comedy clubs in Britain ban you? Because it's obviously not a place for you. You're walking into a comedy club, places that usually have offensive comedy, and you're complaining about being offended. You seem like the type of prick that would dive into the ocean and then complain that you got wet. Imagine being so selfish and so entitled that you walk into a comedy club with a room full of people who are all laughing and having fun at the jokes, but because you, this one person, didn't like the jokes, you try and shut the entire thing down. How fucking entitled and egotistical do you need to fucking be? Rob, you're like the old man that bursts the football after it gets kicked into his garden, ruining the fun for everyone just because it inconvenienced you slightly. Go fuck yourself. That was just to give an example of the far left's outrage culture that they've cultivated, and pretty much every single edgy comedian in existence has been subject to this. Back in the day, all comedians had to really worry about was basic social consequences, people saying that they were offensive, their jokes weren't funny, they didn't like the act. Just criticisms. Mere words. And that is all part of freedom of speech. If someone says something in the public space, you are allowed to also use your freedom of speech to comment on it. I fully support things being that way. But nowadays, people will actually try and get you fired, deplatformed, render you unemployable, and basically try and completely take away all of your income and possibly have you living in the streets just because you hurt their feelings. I mean, the punishment doesn't really fit the crime here, does it? However, the outrage culture that the far left have created is an uncontrollable beast. A beast that is now blind with bloodlust, where even now, the lefty-verified Trump bashers aren't even safe. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, quite well known as well for his tweets bashing Trump, even he has drawn the attention of the outrage beast over some jokes he made about molesting kids. See, if you look at the tweets, the context of them, the wording of them, these were jokes. These were clearly joke tweets. I'm not asking you to actually like the jokes, I'm not asking you to find them funny, I'm not asking you to enjoy the subject matter. Okay, I'm just asking you to recognise the clear intent that these were supposed to be jokes. And yes, I'm aware that there's conspiracy theories going around now that Hollywood is secretly run by paedophiles, but if you were in fact fucking kids, you wouldn't broadcast it like this on Twitter, would you? And even though James Gunn was one of your classic far-lefty Trump-hating verifieds, that didn't spare him from the bloodlust of the outrage beast. And you even had the usual suspects sort of pulling on the leash, trying to rein it back in, saying, no, don't attack James Gunn. He's one of us. We only attack people for this stuff if their politics is different from ours, because it's okay when we do it, but fuck those guys. However, people from our side, when I say our side, I don't mean a left and a right thing, I just mean a comedy thing. People from our side who supported me in the past went after James Gunn. If you supported me over the joke I made, then you need to support James Gunn too. Because he is in pretty much the exact same scenario that I was in, where I made a joke, people didn't like the subject matter, people get very offended, and then people tried to associate me with what I was joking about and tried to paint me as something I'm not, based on some edgy jokes that I made. James Gunn is literally going through the exact same scenario right now. You don't have to like James Gunn, you don't have to like the jokes that he made, you don't have to not be offended by the subject matter, and you definitely don't have to enjoy the subject matter. All I'm asking is, if you supported me, then you need to stand by your principles and recognise that, just like me, James Gunn has a right to make these jokes, even if you find them distasteful. You are more than welcome to criticise the jokes that he made, because that's just all part of freedom of speech, but see, to call for him to be fired and basically lose his income just because he offended some people, again, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I do understand that Disney is very, very different when it comes to firing people. They usually nuke someone if they've got the tiniest bit of controversy attached to them, but the point still stands. Maybe he is a pedo. Even at that, you need to look at the stuff that he said and view it objectively. See if you can see that it's sort of, he's making an attempt to make an edgy joke, then you need to recognise it as an edgy joke. Again, you don't need to like the joke, you don't need to find it funny, you just need to recognise its intent. Because see, deliberately ignoring the intent of something that someone said so that you can then go after them because you disagree with them politically is the exact same thing that I went through. There are people out there who know for a fact I was joking and know that I was just trying to be edgy. But see, just because they don't like where I stand politically, they completely put the blinders on and ignore that fact just so they can go after me and keep calling me a Nazi, racist, bigot, blah, buzzwords, right? I'm not asking you to find the joke funny. I'm not asking you to like the jokes. I'm just asking you to recognise they were intended as jokes. Because look at what I went through. That's not a cycle we can allow to continue. Another person who drew the attention of the outrage beast was Dan Harmon over a sketch he made back in 2009 where he travels back in time and rapes serial killers as babies to prevent them from becoming serial killers. But like in my video as well, Dan actually provided context and he also warned people that it was offensive. It's a little bit extreme for my liking, but I would like to give credit to Dan Harmon, you know, credit where credit is due, for creating a comedy sketch so extreme that I wouldn't even do it. But the video is so ridiculous, so outrageous, that there's just no way that it can be taken as anything else but a joke. It's an extreme joke, I'll give you that, but there is no way that it can be taken as anything but a joke. And as usual, the outrage beast came and demanded that Dan Harmon be fired, but Dan was very, very lucky because Adult Swim basically told the mob to go and fuck themselves. And then finally, we have one of the biggest virtue signalling soy boys out there. I'm sure you've all heard of Trevor Noah, a man with an absolute burning hatred for Trump. There isn't enough time in the day for him to hate Trump enough. It's got to the point where hating Trump literally is his job. It's literally his job to hate Trump. He constantly comments on Trump's racism, hatred, bigotry, blah blah blah, to the point where he is now more famous for hating Trump than his actual comedy. But a video surfaced of Trevor Noah that's got a lot of people quite upset.
All women of every race can be beautiful. Yeah. And I know some of you are sitting there now going, oh, Trevor, yeah, but I've never seen a beautiful Aborigine. Yeah, but you know what you say? You say yet. That's what you say. Yet. Because you haven't seen all of them, right? And plus, it's not always about looks. Yeah. Maybe Aborigine women do special things. Yes. Maybe they'll like jump on top of you and just be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Was that a racist joke? Was that a racist joke, Trevor? Did you just say a racism? Did you just suggest that people of an entire race are all ugly? Spicy. But of course, even one of the world's biggest virtue signalers wouldn't be spared from the outrage beast, as it stared at him snarling, demanding that everyone boycott his Australian tour. He stared down at it going, don't you recognise me, boy? It's me. It reminded me an awful lot of Ramsay Bolton's death scene in Game of Thrones.
My hands will never harm me.
Down.
If you train an animal to kill, it might just kill you. Ultimately, we did see a trend among the far left where if someone did something outrageous and that person's politics didn't line up with the far left's, then the far left would try and get them fired and lose their income. But if that person's politics did line up with the far left's, then they got a pass. However, we're starting to see this on the right too. If you supported me, then you need to support all comedians who are getting fired over jokes that they made, no matter where they sit politically. If you want to criticise the joke or be mad about the joke or just say that you didn't like the joke, then that's fine, do that. But to actually try and get someone fired, lose their income and possibly be rendered unemployable for the rest of their lives just because your feelings got hurt is just an absolute scumbag thing to do. And yeah, I understand that some of these guys are millionaires, but comedians who are just starting out can be subject to this as well. I've been in the situation where I couldn't get a job anywhere. I was completely unemployable and I was pretty much penniless, and it was a fucking really shitty situation, but thankfully you guys helped me turn that around. God bless Patreon. It's just going to end up getting to the stage where comedians are going to be too scared to tell certain jokes. They're going to alter their entire act and they're just not going to push the boundaries of comedy itself, because internally they'll be thinking it's just not worth risking my career to actually try and develop and push the career that I'm in. Basically, comedy is going to end up fucking boring. If comedy is subject to so many restrictions, then it's just going to end up fucking boring. And even if you don't line up with a person politically, that doesn't mean that you don't like what they create. James Gunn makes good movies. Dan Harmon gave us Rick and Morty. And Trevor Noah's stand-up is actually very good. But see, in trying to get these people fired, you're actually preventing them from creating more of their art in future. So you're actually depriving other people of things that they enjoy just because your feelings got hurt. It might even get to the stage where no one is going to hire these people at all, which means any art that they could have created in the future will just never happen. You're basically depriving the world of what could be great comedic content just because your feelings got hurt. It's just, I can't imagine anything more fucking selfish. If there's a stand-up act, comedy sketch, actor, literally anything that you don't like and you find offensive, just don't go to their comedy show, don't watch their movies, don't buy their DVDs, don't listen to their podcasts, just don't go near it. Just don't look. Just if you see something that offends you, just walk away. Just turn around and walk away. You'll be fine. You should try it actually. You'll find out that it actually works a hell of a lot better than trying to control what everyone can and can't see just to satisfy your sensitive emotions. Basically, if there is something that you don't like, don't be around it. Don't instead call for it to be banned, because it just makes you look like a censorious arsehole and a piece of shit. Your principles should apply to everyone, even people you don't align with politically and even people that you don't like. And this culture that the far left have been promoting for ages and ages of censorship, deplatforming, getting people fired over things they've said, and basically excommunicating them from the media and social media as a whole, they were fine with that happening for a long time, and they were even promoting it because it was happening to people that they didn't align with politically. It was happening to people that they didn't like. So they were absolutely fine with these absolutely immoral techniques being used on other people because it was the enemy. Oh, it's not happening to us because we're the good guys. It's fine. And I did say for a very long time that these things that the far left were promoting would one day come back and bite them and be used against them. And yes, I am going to be that guy. I told you so. 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 I fucking told you so.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.
I know a lot of you might be aware of all the drama that's going on in the Magic the Gathering community in regards to Jeremy of Unslaved Media being accused of harassment by Magic the Gathering cosplayer Christine Spankle. Christine Spankle announced that she was quitting the Magic the Gathering cosplay community due to what she claimed to be 2 years of harassment from Jeremy of Unslaved Media. This lit a bit of a dumpster fire in the community, and it started a little bit of a Me Too campaign with other people coming forward with further allegations of apparent harassment from Jeremy. At the same time, they were all encouraging harassment towards Jeremy. Everyone remembers the shit show that happened after a particular joke that I made, where the vast majority of mainstream comedians were actually celebrating what happened to me and saying that I deserved it. Most of the comedians who came out against me were far left virtue signallers who do make up the majority of mainstream comics. What they didn't realise is that by supporting such consequences for comedy means that they were just opening themselves up to be subject to the same consequences themselves. They basically placed their careers at risk just for the sake of virtue signalling. I've been saying for a very long time that these things that the far left are pushing for would one day be used against them, because there's one thing that the far left is well known for, it's eating their own. And it looks like they got hungry. We can start with something basic to sort of give an idea of the outrage culture that I'm talking about, like comedian Freddie Quinn. He gave a performance at the Hot Water Comedy Club in Liverpool where he says that rape is completely justifiable if a woman hasn't put out by the 4th date. In the anecdote that he created for his routine, he says that ultimately his date turned out to be transgender, and he suggested that we make all transgender people wear badges. Far left screecher Rob Harkavy wrote an article for Out News basically comparing Freddie's badge comment to when the Nazis made LGBT people wear purple triangles in the concentration camps. Rob states in the article that Freddie's entire comedy routine is hate-filled and offensive. But then he goes on to say this about Freddie. So far, so side-splitting. Yes, folks, in the crazy madcap world of the portly, bearded, balding Quinn, rape is funny. You're complaining about a comedian's routine being hate-filled and discriminatory, but then you go on to make fun of him for his appearance, and then you even throw a nice little dash of fat-shaming in there as well. Imagine contradicting yourself this hard only 3 paragraphs into your article. It's okay when we do it. Rob then goes on to attack the comedy club for the comment that they gave over the routine. In a not unexpected cop-out, a spokesperson for the Hot Water Comedy Club told Outnews Global, "We do not censor. All content is owned by the comedian himself rather than by us. We are just a platform." Rob already tried to mislead you with the title "Comedy Club stands by when is rape justified comic." Supporting someone's right to say things is not the same as supporting the things that they say. And I'm actually at the point that I'm smashing my face off a wall, trying my hardest to get you people to fucking understand that. The club's response isn't a cop-out, Rob. That literally is fact. Platforms are not responsible for what is said on their platforms. The only way to actually fix this problem that you're screeching about is for platforms to control what can and can't be said on their platforms, and also for them to refuse access to people who say things that they don't like. Literal control of speech. And with the way things are going right now, in order for a platform to actually be successful and actually be well respected, it has to have a respect for freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Cough, cough. The article gets even funnier when Rob gets a quote from trans activist Jake Graff, and he actually genuinely said this. Not only is the comedian in question advocating for rape, he then begins a torrent of transphobic slurs which are surely tantamount to hate crime. Advocating for rape. The man is a comedian in a comedy club with a microphone in his hand, on a stage, telling jokes. That's all they are. Jokes. It's fascinating how in all of the psychological research and data that we actually have on what actually inspires rapists to rape, jokes aren't mentioned once. Not once in all of the research. I don't ever think there's been a recorded incident ever of a person leaving a comedy club after having heard a rape joke and then raping someone because of the joke that they heard in the comedy club. I'm pretty sure that that's never ever happened. But if anyone does come across a recorded case where someone was actually raped because the rapist heard a joke, then get back to me. But until then, you're full of shit, Jake. And then there was the usual calls for censorship and deplatforming coming from both Jake and Rob. Jake said, "At a time when the trans community is under such sustained and vitriolic attack, events like this must be called out and stopped." Rob himself also called for censorship in regards to Freddie's routine in the closing paragraph, but he did try and precursor it with a famous phrase that censorial, anti-free speech arseholes all love to use. Outnews Global believes in free speech. Now, what word do you think followed that sentence? Can you guess? I'll give you a wee second so you can guess.
Praise your bits now! Come on! Quick! Bit! Betting ends!
But freedom of speech is not absolute. Hate speech and incitement to violence, including rape, are illegal. We have no doubt that opinions like Quinn's, even when wearing a comedic mantle, contribute to an atmosphere where both cis and trans women feel unsafe when simply going about their day-to-day lives. Any comedy club with a modicum of decency should not book this man. I have an even better idea, Rob. I have an even better idea. How about all comedy clubs in Britain ban you? Because it's obviously not a place for you. You're walking into a comedy club, places that usually have offensive comedy, and you're complaining about being offended. You seem like the type of prick that would dive into the ocean and then complain that you got wet. Imagine being so selfish and so entitled that you walk into a comedy club with a room full of people who are all laughing and having fun at the jokes, but because you, this one person, didn't like the jokes, you try and shut the entire thing down. How fucking entitled and egotistical do you need to fucking be? Rob, you're like the old man that bursts the football after it gets kicked into his garden, ruining the fun for everyone just because it inconvenienced you slightly. Go fuck yourself. That was just to give an example of the far left's outrage culture that they've cultivated, and pretty much every single edgy comedian in existence has been subject to this. Back in the day, all comedians had to really worry about was basic social consequences, people saying that they were offensive, their jokes weren't funny, they didn't like the act, just criticism. Your words. And that is all part of freedom of speech. If someone says something in the public space, you are allowed to also use your freedom of speech to comment on it. I fully support things being that way. But nowadays, people will actually try and get you fired, deplatformed, render you unemployable, and basically try and completely take away all of your income and possibly have you living in the streets just because you hurt their feelings. I mean, the punishment doesn't really fit the crime here, does it? However, the outrage culture that the far left have created is an uncontrollable beast. A beast that is now blind with bloodlust, where even now, the lefty-verified Trump bashers aren't even safe. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, quite well known as well for his tweets bashing Trump, even he has drawn the attention of the outrage beast over some jokes he made about molesting kids. See, if you look at the tweets, the context of them, the wording of them, these were jokes. These were clearly joke tweets. I'm not asking you to actually like the jokes. I'm not asking you to find them funny. I'm not asking you to enjoy the subject matter. Okay, I'm just asking you to recognise the clear intent that these were supposed to be jokes. And yes, I'm aware that there's conspiracy theories going around and now that Hollywood is secretly run by paedophiles, but if you were in fact fucking kids, you wouldn't broadcast it like this on Twitter, would you? And even though James Gunn was one of your classic far-lefty, Trump-hating verifieds, that didn't spare him from the bloodlust of the outrage beast. And you even had the usual suspects sort of pulling on the leash, trying to rein it back in, saying, no, don't attack James Gunn. He's one of us. We only attack people for this stuff if their politics is different from ours, because it's okay when we do it, but fuck those guys. However, people from our side, when I say our side, I don't mean a left and a right thing, I just mean a comedy thing. People from our side who supported me in the past went after James Gunn. If you supported me over the joke I made, then you need to support James Gunn too, because he is in pretty much the exact same scenario that I was in, where I made a joke, people didn't like the subject matter, people get very offended, and then people tried to associate me with what I was joking about and tried to paint me as something I'm not, based on some edgy jokes that I made. James Gunn is literally going through the exact same scenario right now. You don't have to like James Gunn, you don't have to like the jokes that he made, you don't have to not be offended by the subject matter, and you definitely don't have to enjoy the subject matter. All I'm asking is, if you supported me, then you need to stand by your principles and recognise that, just like me, James Gunn has a right to make these jokes, even if you find them distasteful. You are more than welcome to criticise the jokes that he made, because that's just all part of freedom of speech, but see, to call for him to be fired and basically lose his income just because he offended some people, again, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I do understand that Disney is very, very different when it comes to firing people. They usually nuke someone if they've got the tiniest bit of controversy attached to them, but the point still stands. Maybe he is a pedo. But even at that, you need to look at the stuff that he said and view it objectively. See if you can see that it's sort of, he's making an attempt to make an edgy joke, then you need to recognise it as an edgy joke. Again, you don't need to like the joke, you don't need to find it funny, you just need to recognise its intent. Because see, deliberately ignoring the intent of something that someone said so that you can then go after them because you disagree with them politically is the exact same thing that I went through. There are people out there who know for a fact I was joking and know that I was just trying to be edgy. But see, just because they don't like where I stand politically, they completely put the blinders on and ignore that fact, just so they can go after me and keep calling me a Nazi, racist, bigot, blah, buzzwords. Right? I'm not asking you to find the jokes funny. I'm not asking you to like the jokes. I'm just asking you to recognise they were intended as jokes. Because look at what I went through. That's not a cycle we can allow to continue. Another person who drew the attention of the outrage beast was Dan Harmon over a sketch he made back in 2009 where he travels back in time and rapes serial killers as babies to prevent them from becoming serial killers. But like in my video as well, Dan actually provided context and he also warned people that it was offensive. It's a little bit extreme for my liking, but I would like to give credit to Dan Harmon, credit where credit is due, for creating a comedy sketch so extreme that I wouldn't even do it. But the video is so ridiculous, so outrageous, that there's just no way that it can be taken as anything else but a joke. It's an extreme joke, I'll give you that, but There is no way that it can be taken as anything but a joke. And as usual, the outrage beast came and demanded that Dan Harmon be fired, but Dan was very, very lucky because Adult Swim basically told the mob to go and fuck themselves. And then finally, we have one of the biggest virtue signalling soy boys out there. I'm sure you've all heard of Trevor Noah, a man with an absolute burning hatred for Trump. There isn't enough time in the day for him to hate Trump enough. It's got to the point where hating Trump literally is his job. It's literally his job to hate Trump. He constantly comments on Trump's racism, hatred, bigotry, blah blah blah, to the point where he is now more famous for hating Trump than his actual comedy. But a video surfaced of Trevor Noah that's got a lot of people quite upset.
All women of every race can be beautiful. Yeah, and I know some of you are sitting there now going, Trevor, yeah, but I've never seen a beautiful Aborigine. Yeah, but you know what you say? You say yet. That's what you say. Yet. Because you haven't seen all of them, right? And plus, it's not always about looks. Yeah. Maybe Aborigine women do special things. Yes. Maybe they'll just like jump on top of you and just be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Was that a racist joke? Was that a racist joke, Trevor? Did you just say a racism? Did you just suggest that people of an entire race are all ugly? Spicy. But of course, even one of the world's biggest virtue signalers wouldn't be spared from the outraged beast, as it stared at him snarling, demanding that everyone boycott his Australian tour. He stared down at it going, "Don't you recognise me, boy? It's me." It reminded me an awful lot of Ramsay Bolton's death scene in Game of Thrones.
My hands will never harm me.
If you train an animal to kill, it might just kill you. Ultimately, we did see a trend among the far left where if someone did something outrageous and that person's politics didn't line up with the far left's, then the far left would try and get them fired and lose their income. But if that person's politics did line up with the far left's, then they got a pass. However, we're starting to see this on the right too. If you supported me, then you need to support all comedians who are getting fired over jokes that they made, no matter where they sit politically. If you want to criticise the joke or be mad about the joke or just say that you didn't like the joke, then that's fine, do that. But to actually try and get someone fired, lose their income and possibly be rendered unemployable for the rest of their lives just because your feelings got hurt is just an absolute scumbag thing to do. And yeah, I understand that some of these guys are millionaires, but comedians who are just starting out can be subject to this as well. I've been in the situation where I couldn't get a job anywhere. I was completely unemployable and I was pretty much penniless, and it was a fucking really shitty situation, but thankfully you guys helped me turn that around. God bless Patreon. It's just going to end up getting to the stage where comedians are going to be too scared to tell certain jokes. They're going to alter their entire act and they're just not going to push the boundaries of comedy itself, because internally they'll be thinking it's just not worth risking my career to actually try and develop and push the career that I'm in. Basically, comedy is going to end up fucking boring. If comedy is subject to so many restrictions, then it's just going to end up fucking boring. And even if you don't line up with a person politically, that doesn't mean that you don't like what they create. James Gunn makes good movies. Dan Harmon gave us Rick and Morty. And Trevor Noah's stand-up is actually very good. But see, in trying to get these people fired, you're actually preventing them from creating more of their art in future. So you're actually depriving other people of things that they enjoy just because your feelings got hurt. It might even get to the stage where no one is going to hire these people at all, which means any art that they could have created in the future will just never happen. You're basically depriving the world of what could be great comedic content just because your feelings got hurt. It's just, I can't imagine anything more fucking selfish. If there's a stand-up act, comedy sketch, actor, literally anything that you don't like and you find offensive, just don't go to their comedy show, don't watch their movies, don't buy their DVDs, don't listen to their podcasts, just don't go near it. Just don't look. Just if you see something that offends you, just walk away. Just turn around and walk away. You'll be fine. You should try it actually. You'll find out that it actually works a hell of a lot better than trying to control what everyone can and can't see just to satisfy your sensitive emotions. Basically, if there is something that you don't like, don't be around it. Don't instead call for it to be banned. because it just makes you look like a censorious arsehole and a piece of shit. Your principles should apply to everyone, even people you don't align with politically and even people that you don't like. And this culture that the far left have been promoting for ages and ages of censorship, deplatforming, getting people fired over things they've said, and basically excommunicating them from the media and social media as a whole, they were fine with that happening for a long time, and they were even promoting it because it was happening to people that they didn't align with politically. It was happening to people that they didn't like. So they were absolutely fine with these absolutely immoral techniques being used on other people because it was the enemy, or it's not happening to us because we're the good guys. It's fine. And I did say for a very long time that these things that the far left were promoting would one day come back and bite them and be used against them. And yes, I am going to be that guy. I told you so. 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 I fucking told you so.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.
Must not be allowed to
Neat freak, I don't wanna slob somebody with bad head in a dead-end job. Cause I won't settle for less than perfect. We want perfect children, a perfect life, perfect husband or a perfect wife. But deep down we know we don't deserve. But we all deserve love, even on the days when we aren't our best. Cause we all suck, love can make us suck less. All deserve love, it's the very best part of being alive. And I would know I just turned 25. Original does not mean good. Anyone can do anything. Don't let me off the hook too easy. War! Huh? Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Increasing domestic manufacturing. I don't want to get political because I only know my own ideas of other people's ideas. We just played in Alabama. They just like the lights. I didn't need to do jokes. Motherfuckers got moving candles. No, not quite. Alabama was actually nice. You're elitist pricks. Isn't that fun? Yeah, you like that?
And now, what making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich feels like when you're high on marijuana. Must not be allowed. Making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich feels like when you're shit-faced.
drunk? You've been drinking, haven't you? You're fucking wasted, aren't you? I can't hear you. Speak in the microphone.
I'm not.
What are you holding behind your back?
Itching.
Stop, just don't
Itchy back.
What are you hiding behind your back? Just show me.
It's a jar of peanut butter, all right? Sue me.
That's mayonnaise. That is a jar of mayonnaise. That is not peanut butter. Why are you holding a jar of mayonnaise?
Why are you holding a jar of mayonnaise?
I'm not holding a jar of mayonnaise.
Touche, bitch.
You know what? I am fucking done with this shit, okay? I had to get up at 5 a.m. I had to be at work at 6. I had an exhausting day. I just want to come home, unwind, relax, and I'm come home to a mess that I have to clean up.
I'll clean it up.
I will have to clean it up because you'll make it worse if you try to, okay?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm fucking done with this. You know,
Are
you're
you?
so immature. I cannot
She's
leave you
done.
alone.
This is what I deal with, man. This is what I deal with. Monday through
I'm not.
Monday.
Who are you talking to right now? You just gestured to the sink.
There's an audience full of people.
Okay, you know what? This bit is getting a little too weird and meta. Okay, we're done with it.
I agree. Where's that going? Sometimes you're right next to a bit, you just skip it before they know it. You're on to the next thing. Guys, I was at the store recently, and no, I will save you time. I bought something. No. Sit in silence. You guys know what continuity errors are? It's where in one shot something's one way, in another shot's another way. You know those things? Anyway.
This
comedy performance is brought to you in part by... Sorry about this. Flaming Hot Cheetos. They're not sponsoring me. I'm trying to get them to. Not returning my call. Evasively cheesy is more like it. Labelless water. Nothing tastes better than not getting sued. I don't love my fans. I don't. You don't want that. You don't want that desperate sort of toying thing from an entertainer. My fans, they stick with me through everything, through thick and thin. Do not stick with me through thick. If I stop entertaining you, throw me to the curb. You wouldn't stick with your mechanic if you stopped fixing your car. I am in a service industry. I'm just overpaid, okay? And I feel a lot of artists, pop artists especially, sort of infringe upon the responsibilities that just aren't theirs in terms of their audience, maintaining their audience at an emotional level. Some of you might be sad and going through things. I feel for that. Life is tough. I'm not going to fix that with a song like Brave or Roar, these inspirations. What I'm trying to say is don't listen to a song like this. Have you ever felt sad or lonely? Have you ever felt too deep, tall? Have you ever thought, man, if only I was anybody else at all? They like to kick you when times get rough, and you give your all, but it's not enough, and sticks and stones might break your bones, but words can break your heart. But if you don't know where to go, I'll show you where to start. Kill yourself. It'll only take a minute. You'll be happy that you did it. Just go over to your oven and shove your head in it. Kill yourself. Really, you should do it. There's really nothing to it. Just grab a mug and shove a couple lighter fluid. Okay, now I feel like you pulled back. Maybe it's on account of the fact that I'm telling you to kill yourself. I'm just trying to make a simple point that life's toughest problems don't have simple answers. You shouldn't just be brave. You shouldn't just roar. You shouldn't kill yourself. But I understand that it's a sensitive subject, and you're probably just hearing me say that. I don't want to be incensed. Look, I sound unempathetic. I sound mean and rude. Suicide is an epidemic, and I don't want to be misconstrued. Signs of depression go overlooked. So if you're depressed, then you need to book a therapy session. Talk about your depression and let a professional hear it. But if you search for moral wisdom and Katy Perry's lyrics, then kill yourself. It won't be painful if you are able to get a little kiss to an oncoming train. You'll kill yourself. It's over bullet. There's a trigger, pull it. Get it through your head, it being a bullet. Stick your tongue in a plug. Suck a pipe of exhaust. Make some toast in the tub. Nail yourself to a cross. Hold your breath till it's gone. Drink a gallon of mace. Be gay in Iran. Let Oprah sit on your face. Jump off of a bridge. Skinny dip in a flood. Skydive attached to a fridge. Drink a Haitian guy's blood. Bring you to the zoo. Give the tiger a shove. Eat a Phillips head screw. Marry Courtney. Don't kill yourself. I don't like explaining jokes, but the joke where I tell everyone to kill themselves might deserve an explanation. Do not. If you're offended, do not write a blog. I apologize immediately. Sorry, right away. What's that, man? What did you say? It's your moment. Who said it? All right. Do not objectify me, okay? Think it's okay just because I'm a dude? You think it's okay because he's a dude? That is homophobia. Just the fact that you find it funny. Ooh, a guy said take off your pants. That's not God's way. Jesus Christ, you bigot. I chose some pretty rock and roll so far. You know, I know it. And I love to keep it going, but life is not always rock and roll. I'm not going to keep life on my show. I went through a pretty rough breakup recently. It was a long time coming. We had a lot of conversations about it, she and I. But recently we had the conversation. It wasn't recent. Like, remember, like it was yesterday, you know? She came out of the shower, her hair wet, her shoulders wet, into the shower. It's water. She turned to me and she said it. She said, it's over. We shouldn't fight to stay together, just to fight again. It's over, we're unhappy. We need to take a break from us to make this right again. And even though it's not gonna go any further, I swear I don't regret a second of it. And when the dust has settled, I hope we can still be friends. Then I said, eat a dick, eat a dick. Eat a fucking dick like this. Put on your dick-eating gloves. Get ready to gobble a dick up. If you don't like this dick, stitch, eat a dick, bitch. Think I made the right decision? Okay, you're angry. I can see that. But you don't need to make this harder than it has to be. I tried to speak to you, but you won't listen. Eat a dick. Hold on. Please, just let me eat a dick. Oh my God. Honestly, are you fucking 5? I'm trying to talk this out. You refuse to even listen to me. I'm saying how I'm feeling. Okay, and then you're saying eat a dick over and over again. Does that seem mature to you? No, it doesn't. But see, I think the issue is I got my father's temper and I'm emotionally inarticulate. So rather than being honest and vulnerable, I did a quick switch because I'm hurt inside. I'm trying to hide it. So eat a dick. I thought we'd have a future together, you fucking whore. I didn't think you'd cry for me. I didn't think you cared. I thought you were lashing out in anger, but now I see you're scared. I'm scared too. Maybe we can work this out and not break up. Really? No, lick my clit. Lick my motherfucking clit. You think 3 lousy tears on 6, 3 years of shit? I deserve better than you. Get me wetter than screw. Sorry, you're not what I need, hon. Lick this clit and leave, son. Hey, if you guys are having a good time, make some silence. Cool. What's the show about? What am I talking about, you know? To summarize the show, though, me. But if you take one thing away from my show, I hope it's a t-shirt. We're selling them out there. And at boburno.com. This is all a front for the brand. But what is the show about? What do you think, industrial piping? Close. Stay out of it. It's about... Mute this. But for real, what is it about? It's about performing. I try to make my show about other things, but it always ends up becoming about performing. I started performing very young. as a teenager, professionally, and as a comedian, what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to talk about what you know. And what I knew always was performing. So to talk about traffic or laundry felt incredibly disingenuous, but I worried that making a show about performing would be too meta, it wouldn't be relatable to people that aren't performers. But what I found is that I don't think anyone isn't. Can we get the house lights up for a second? Could you let the lights on stage, let the artifice fade away? Now we're all the same. I mean, you're all facing this way still. I look out at you and it's a very diverse crowd. I mean, more European than I would have hoped, but we'll get there. I look at the young people, and I feel like I was born in 1990 and I was sort of raised in America when it was a cult of self-expression, and I was just taught, express myself and have things to say and everyone will care about them. And I think everyone was taught that, and most of us found out no one gives a shit what we think. So we flock to performers by the thousands because we're the few that have found an audience, and then I'm supposed to get up here and say, follow your dreams, as if this is a meritocracy. It is not, okay? I had a privileged life, and I got lucky, and I'm unhappy. They say it's like the me generation. It's not. It's not. Arrogance is taught, or it was cultivated. It's self-conscious. That's what it is. It's conscious of self. What the social media, it's just the market's answer to a generation that demanded to perform. So the market said, here, perform everything to each other all the time for no reason. It's prison. It's horrific. It is performer and audience melded together. What do we want more than to lie in our bed at the end of the day and just watch our life as a satisfied audience member? I know very little about anything, but what I do know is that if you can live your life without an audience, you should do it. And now you're thinking, how the fuck are you gonna dig the show out of this weird hole? Oh, you want me to be funny and make a point? Nah. Batman. So, how do we do it? We do it like this. I went to Kanye West's recent tour, the Yeezus tour. It was a big, dramatic, theatrical show. He did something very strange at the end of his show where he ranted for like 20 minutes. It was kind of a rant, kind of a song. He had auto-tune on his voice, and there was an instrumental in the background. Like this instrumental. Talked about his problems. Race. Power. His $90 t-shirts weren't selling very well. That was most of it. And I watched this. I thought maybe I could do this. I'll be honest, my problems, not as high stakes as Kanye's, but I have problems. And maybe a crowd in New York would be nice enough to indulge me. So as we get to the end of a night of theater and comedy and sweaters coming on and off, I got one question for you. And that question is, can I say my shit? New York, can I say my shit? I got lots of shit to say. I got lots of shit to say. I can't fit my hand inside a Pringle can. I have a huge amount of trouble fitting my hand inside of a Pringle can. I can get my hand like 4 inches into the can, but then I have to tilt the can into my mouth. But by that point, a bunch of crumbs have accumulated at the bottom of the can, so they all go spilling off my face. What I'm trying to say is the diameter of Pringle cans is way too small. I'll say it again, the diameter of Pringle cans is way too small. 2 radiuses of a Pringle can is way too small. If you feel me, put your hands up. Come on. If you feel me, put your hands up. Look at all these hands that are way too big to fit inside a Pringle can. Your hands are too big to fit inside a Pringle cans. Your hands are too big to fit inside a Pringle can. You think you can? I know you can. You think you can? Pringles, listen to the people. I am sure 90% of the complaint letters you get are about the width of your pants. Just make them wider. I've overdone the Pringles thing. Sorry. I wanna have a daughter. Wanna have a daughter. So I can finally have someone around the house who can fit their hands in a Pringle can. Yes, I'm still on the Pringle can thing. Yeah. I'll move on, alright? But that is priority numero uno. I don't go to the gym because I'm self-conscious about my body. But I'm self-conscious about my body because I don't go to the gym. Irony can be so painful. That's a catch-22. Let's do this. I went to Chipotle. Went to Chipotle. Got myself a chicken burrito. I went down the line, I got like all these ingredients, and then at the end of the line, the guy tried to wrap the burrito. Half the chicken inside the burrito spilled out, he still wrapped it. I was like, dude, you should have warned me. You're a burrito expert, you should have told me halfway through, hey man, you might be reaching maximum burrito capacity here. Do you think I want a messy burrito? No one wants a messy burrito. The whole appeal of a burrito is that all of the ingredients are contained within the confines of the tortilla. I wouldn't have gotten half this shit if I knew it was gonna fit in the burrito. Alright, look. I wouldn't have got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the cheese if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the peppers if I knew they wouldn't fit. I wouldn't have got half of it. Like, I'm okay with small mistakes. If you got no more chicken, I'll take pork. But I'll blow my dad before I eat a burrito with a fork. Wouldn't have got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wouldn't have got the cheese if I knew it wouldn't. Wouldn't have got the peppers if I knew they wouldn't. Man, I wouldn't have got half of it like, half of it like, half of it like, half of it like, half of it right now. I think it's time that we break it down. I can sit here and pretend like my biggest problems are Pringle cans and burritos. The truth is my biggest problem's you. I want to please you, but I want to stay true to myself. I want to give you the night out that you deserve, but I want to say what I think and not care what you think about it. But part of me loves you, part of me hates you, part of me needs you, part of me fears you. I don't think that I can handle this right now. Handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right now. Look at them and just staring at me like, come and watch the skinny kid with a steadily declining mental health, and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself. Think that I can handle this right now. I don't think that I can handle this right now. But they don't even know the half of this right now. But they don't even know the half of it. But I know I'm not a doctor. I'm a pussy. I put on a silly show. I should probably just shut up and do my job. So here I go. I wish I got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit. Wish I got the cheese if I knew it wouldn't. Wish I got the peppers if I knew they wouldn't. Wouldn't I got half. You can tell them anything if you just make it funny, make it rhyme. And if they still don't understand you, then you run it one more time. Think that I can handle this right. Handle this right. Handle this right. But you don't even know the half of this right now. Right now. Handle this right. handle this right now. Thank you, good night. I hope you're happy.
Good, it's just us.
Now the show is done. I hope that you had gut trembling or something resembling fun. And if you watch this thing alone, probably didn't laugh, but maybe a few times you exhaled out of your nose. But if you hated it, that's fair. But either way, could you find a little more time for a parting questionnaire? On a scale from 1 to 0, are you happy? 'Cause you're on your own from here, so are you happy? I'm open to suggestions. Are you happy? What the fuck kind of question is, am I happy? I really wanna try to get happy, and I think that I could get it if I didn't always panic every time I'm unhappy. Like I'm awesome, like where I'm always like happy, which is stupid because I wouldn't even want it if I got it great. Oh God, my dad was right. So if you know or ever knew how to be happy, on a scale from 1 to 2 now, are you happy? For everything you hated, are you happy? Hey look ma, I made it, are you happy?
What do you think happiness is?
Again, you only know the happiness because of the badness. You've got to be yin and yang.
Well, I know what you mean there. I agree with you on this because it's sort of no good to be handed it on a plate. I mean, just from my own experience, working for someone does feel better because you've got a pride and a satisfaction. I genuinely think it's better to start a business, struggle, go bust, come back, than win the lottery.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that.
But you need the mixture, don't you? So you find out what your favourite thing is. It's like a bag of Rebels.
Yeah, but you can't cherish guilt or shame.
Did you just say life is like a bag of Rebels? Isn't that dangerously close to life's like a box of chocolates?
Some Forrest Gump over there, yeah. Jesus.
No, but it is, isn't it? There's one or two in there that I don't like.
Like what?
The raisin.
No.
With chocolate.
Yeah, no.
Now, what I'm saying
metaphorically, what's the...
Yeah, well, I'm
actually named what Rebel he doesn't like.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you because it works in life.
Go on then.
But the Rebel
you like
is
raisins?
there.
Go on.
Well, maybe, if you have enough raisin ones, you eventually go, do you know what? They're not that bad.
What?
And that's the thing in life.
Well, what would you have written to Jim will fix it to fix for him? What would have given you pleasure as a kid? Dear Jim, can you fix it for me to do what?
When I watched Jim will fix it as a kid, they never really lived up to what the kid wanted, did they?
But what would you have requested?
But I don't think I would, because I think I saw how disappointed most of the kids were.
God, it's
a kid like whistling, they brought out Roger Whittaker.
Yes, because they look at it and they go, can you fix it for me to go into space? No. Can I dance for Bananarama? No problem. That's the ones they pick.
Yeah, so that's why I wouldn't write in, because whatever you ask for, you're always going to get a watered-down version.
But if Jim could fix it for you to do anything, what would you have chosen?
There's not many things I wanted as a kid.
One thing. Just one thing. To choose one thing, please.
That my name was Brett.
Oh, fucking hell! It's not unbelievable!
I mean, it's extraordinary.
There was no predicting that.
Okay, you know what? I can make that dream come true for you right now, Brett.
We can just call you Brett from now on.
Not a problem, Brett.
Brett Pilkington.
It sounds good.
I love the fact that it's the Carl bit he wants to replace, not the fucking
No, but that doesn't work either, because like then
Why not,
because I told my mum and dad that that's what I wanted. They started calling me that, but then I forgot
They went along with it?
Yeah.
So you said, Mum, Dad, call me Brett from now on. And they went, all right.
Yeah, but then I kept forgetting that I was Brett, so I wasn't answering, so they went back to Carl.
It's amazing!
So you've had that dream come true.
Yeah, and it wasn't that good. And that's what I'm saying to you. Things never live up to what you want. Dreams, what are they?
Carl, I've got a couple of little facts for you, just to try and inflame your imagination.
Well,
Sharks are immune to cancer.
really?
Yeah.
So what? How have they found that out?
Well, I don't know, but
I've never heard of any fish having cancer though. I haven't heard of a cod being ill. So why are we focusing on that one?
good point. Okay. Stroking a spider can cause its hair to fall out.
What? Because it doesn't like it and it gets stressed out, or is it just that some people are rubbing too hard?
No, I don't think it's they're rubbing too hard. I think it's something to do with... I mean, what sort of maniac is stroking a spider anyway?
My mum did it once.
Really?
Yeah, not to a spider.
Right.
It was just a little bee. She'd been out, sunny day and that. Got the washing off the washing line. She was bringing it in. Little bee sat on the top, like the bed sheet or whatever it was. Yeah. And she's in the kitchen with it. And she goes, "Look at that little bee there." She started sort of stroking its head. It loved it.
I
How did it make it clear that he loved it?
Well, he wasn't struggling. It was just sat there like, because it must have been like a bit dozy. You get a bit dozy, don't you, in the heat and that. And it just stayed there on the sheet. She sort of strokes its head for a bit, and she had to put it out. It didn't go out. It didn't try and escape. It's like, you've had enough now. That was that. She sent it out.
So you can see how badass this movie is. Anyway, thank you for subbing. I'm almost at 50,000 subs now. Thanks for the comments, thanks for the likes. And you know, the channel's growing. I'm going to keep rolling out more videos. Take care out there from London. Cheers. If someone calls you a punk or a bitch in prison, you've got no choice but to fight. When you first go in and the gang explain all the rules, they tell you if someone calls you a punk, calls you a bitch, or hits you, you gotta fight them on the spot. Otherwise, all of your race will smash you. Doesn't matter how big and bad and tough you think you are. If you back down, someone calls you a punk or a bitch, the gang will send torpedoes, probate, dudes looking to just earn their stripes by committing violence, get their reputations built, earn some tattoos into your cell, and they go in there like a pack of wolves, so you don't stand a chance. I got used to the sounds of those bodies getting smashed around, heads cracking against toilets. Now, there was a situation where I was living, I was in a 45-man pod. There was 4 main gangs, whites, blacks, Mexicans, Mexican-Americans. And the head of the blacks called the head of the whites out. The head of the whites was a guy called Carter. He'd become cocky because his sidekick was a huge cage fighter guy called Grave Digger. So Carter, with Grave Digger by his side, was thinking he was invincible until the day the head of the blacks called him out. I'm just going to read from Hard Time what I documented actually happened. So Chow was in the house, we lined up at the door of our IDs, and then Carter said to the head of the blacks, Smackdown, a beefy young boxer, you need to stop sweating the woods, dog, because Smackdown have been bullying people out of commissary, food you can buy from the inmate store. So Carter was telling him to stop bullying the whites, the woods, call them the woods, out of commissary. Who've I been sweating? Smackdown yelled. I can't say names, Carter said, but as the head, people have been complaining about you bulldogging them. I ain't bulldog nobody. That's not what people are saying. If fools have got a problem with me, they need to come and tell me to my face. That's what I'm talking about. The people you've been sweating are afraid of you. Fuck them then. You need to keep yourself in check. People are sick of your bulldogging. I ain't putting myself in check. You can go fuck yourself too. You calling me out? Now, calling someone out means you want them to fight you. You're going to give them no choice by calling them a punk or a bitch or hitting them. That's calling someone out. So what he does next is he confirms he's calling him out. He says, hell yeah, I'm calling you out. Ain't no punk ass white boy telling me how I'm supposed to behave around here. As soon as you call the head of the whites a punk ass white boy, that's fighting words. The head of the whites now has no choice but to fight. So, Smackdown, he's never lost a fight. Carter yelled, you'll see who's the punk. Let's take this to cell 3. That was under the stairs. The stairs kind of blocked the view from the guards a little bit, so people preferred to fight in cell number 3. So they both went into cell 3. What we're waiting for, Smackdown went in first. And then they started fighting, bouncing around. But Smackdown, he was like a professional fighter. Bam, he hits Carter in the head. Carter was throwing some wild